So welcome again. I'm being shadow banned again, and I'm not saying that to get your uh, feeling like a victim or to get your charity or mercy or whatever. I'm saying that because what is concerning me is that we're living in a timeline where we are being massively censored and we're being bullied. And I am going to explain to you why I'm saying this. I have been creating my videos using AI imagery software since my account was first created in 2021. I didn't get serious about really working on my account, and you can actually scroll all the way down if you have the time on your hands to see my first videos. I've had a lot of problems with TikTok. They even banned my account, and then I appealed it, and within like less than 10 minutes they brought it back up, but a lot of videos were lost, a lot of content. So I've had to if I remembered it, repost old videos that, thank God, I had saved on my phone, which is 1 terabyte of memory. On the side note, on another side note, I have blocked TikTok from having full access to my gallery. I did that a while back, and they have only access to the photos I want them to have access to. I am not going to have them have access to my shit, period, end of story. And I want you to be careful about that. Okay? You can actually pick the videos that they have access to. Well, you probably know that already. And that's the end of it. So they sent me a harassment saying that my content was not original, my original voice, my original artwork, my original words. I'm not parroting anyone's shit. That's why I started the account with a focused ferocity, because I saw so much parroting and stealing of other people's content that's when I came out of the woodwork, if you will, and thought, well, let me go ahead and speak of what I know, because I've been doing this kind of work way before 2021, okay, as professionally, by the way, on the side note. And so that was the beginning. And I thought, well, let me figure out what kind of work of art I could use. And my work, my personal artwork, like the one I do by hand to paper, is erotic. And I believe I still have links of that on my Linktree, but it's too erotic to post anyway, and to do any voiceover videos with my own personal visual work, period. So they have been threatening that my work is low quality or stolen, or that it's not original content, and it violates their creative monetization. Just on the side note, just so you know, I'm lucky if I make $13 a month. It's definitely not paying my bills. So I actually asked them to remove me from their creative fund, because I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing these videos to make money off TikTok. I'm doing videos for two reasons. I'll be very blunt and very transparent. One, to promote what I do, but two, and most importantly, to use this platform to give as many people as possible a clear perspective of what the twin flame journey takes to survive it and to thrive from it. Two, the ascension journey, the starseed journey, and the new earth. That's it. I've been reposting a lot about Gaza. Oh my God, God forbid I should be a humanitarian and a spiritualist who is actually against this forced famine that the Irish went through a couple hundred years ago. God forbid, okay? So they have been shadow banning me for a while now, for about, I'd say, the last 6 weeks. I saw a massive decline. I've been listening to a lot of content creators saying that many of their followers are like being like, it's almost like they're not aware they're being unfollowed. Like the system unfollows you whether you want to unfollow a person or not. It's shocking to me that that's happening, that TikTok is literally removing followers, and they're doing that as well. And I know this, and I'll tell you why I know this. It's happening to my work, and it's happening to other people's pages, because I have friends who are having to add themselves back to following me. I have friends and clients who have said, I don't get notification when you go live ever. So can you please send me when, or let me know when you're going to go live, because I'd like to listen to your lives. So I'm not sure. I actually know. Let me back up. I know exactly why it's happening. I'm not sure who's handling that business, and I'm not sure why this is an agenda. I am not a massive influencer by any stretch of any fucking imagination one can comprehend. I am what you call in the shadows. I am a small fry in the bigger scheme of content creators and influencers. To be honest, it's not my goal to be an influencer. My goal is actually to use this platform to help people from literally skidding off the rails and going through a dark night of the soul in which they may not survive, number one. Number two, it's to eventually promote. I'm going to be blunt because, this is what we do. My book that I'm starting to being pushed by the universe to write on star seeds and the Akashic records and how we fell and lost our consciousness into amnesia, into twirling, looshing into the 3D, conscious lobotomy that, conscious lobotomy that has been our major suffering, whether we were incarnating with our twin flames or not. Trust me, the suffering we went through, quite often our twin flame was not incarnated at all as we suffered in these various ages. So I was going to do a live anyway to talk about, again, an extraordinary Akashic reading I did today with this incredible high priestess powerhouse. And I am going to share something that is important for you. And I'm trying to gather my words as to how to put together one sliver of this entire Akashic reading that I did for this wonderful woman. And the reason I'm sharing it with you is because it is a collective good. It's a collective wisdom that needs to be shared. So in one scene, I see her as a Pleiadian working on the fluids and the hormonal biology of all sentient beings across the various galaxies, planets, whatever you want to call it, and studying. The next scene I see, she's an Andromedan having a presentation in front of, I would say, a galactic council of light. And she's explaining why the planet's alignment, the hormones that many sentient beings experience, depending on if they're humanoid or a mixture of various types of sentient incarnations, and how all of that creates a free will that can be somewhat volatile or balanced or beautiful or whatever, and how this free will is very important. And the question is asked, can we and should we control this free will? Should we control this free will? And her answer is no. No, this must be allowed. And the question from the council is, but what about wars? What about evil? What about this? And the answer, as she replies, is, well, but one must understand that each soul is coming to their own realization in divine timing, and that they will eventually choose the light over the dark, and they'll realize that these contrasting ideas do not benefit them, that as long as this hardcore of war and Geno is allowed. And by the way, I hope you know this. It's been going on in other planets as well. I hope you realize this. That it will end. It will come to a full stop if we allow souls free will to evolve into their own self-realization that this is not necessary, and most importantly, it is not for their greater good. And there ensued an argument, believe it or not. Because the idea was to create an egregore that would literally muzzle free will, control, subjugate free will, in order to create a false peace, a dilution of all of the various passions, volatility, desires, whatever, that comes from our souls, no matter what we incarnate into, whatever vessel. Trust me, in 560, there's still some issues. And ultimately, her stance that free will was a must. It was not an argument. It was God-given. And that no sentient being, no matter what level of consciousness, could never step into infringing on our free will, even if it brought us to destruction. That had to be honored. And it's been a while since I talked about the Bhagavad Gita. And if you've never heard of that book, it's about Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And why is this book the oldest religious book, by the way, older than the Bible, older than the Torah, older than all religious books, okay? Why is that battle so important? And you know what? I'm not going to answer that for you because I've answered it in multiple lives, many, many times. Why am I doing that? Because I want you to read it. I want you to read the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because every great American poet, every great philosopher all over the world, Carl Jung has read the Bhagavad Gita. Pretty much, very rare is it that great minds have not read that book. Why? Because it talks about free will and fate. That's why. It talks about the inevitable moments that one cannot change no matter what, not even God. Because it is written, because there are multiple contracts, soul contracts. The days you are born, the days you die, the days where you have crossroad moments, and you, with the free will, have to make decisions. You, not God, the one of 1,000 names, the one who created us all. Not that. Not this beautiful entity that loves us. Not the one that was written in the Old Testament. Certainly not that. That's Anunnaki shit. And so that's why I want you to read it. Read the Bhagavad Gita. Or get it on Audible. And listen to, there's some incredible translations. One is called, the guy's called Ishan. I think it's called Ishan. He has a beautiful, you'll see his translation, and it's translated, and the narrator has this beautiful Indo-European accent. British. Beautiful. That would be the version I would listen to, because it really goes into depth. I mean, Deepak Chopra, and it's not because, Deepak Chopra has read the Bhagavad Gita and has mentioned the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very important moment. I'm trying to remember the movie I watched with my husband when I was in my probably 25 years old. It was called The Mahabharat, directed by Peter something. It was a French production. It was multiracial. Everyone played every race you can imagine played a role in that 12-hour. I think it was it was a 12-hour movie. Something like that. It was insane. I believe I'm correct. Was it longer? I'm trying to remember. But it was a movie where we spent the whole damn day watching it. Let's put it that way. We spent like massive amounts, and it's very hard to find. Very hard. It was made in the 80s and was called the Mahabharat. And there's certain ancient Hindu stories that have very deep philosophies and points of view that are really, that can actually give you an aha moment in your own life. you know? And I feel as if when we look at our connection with our twin, right? And or a beloved, a high level soulmate, a beloved, a soul contract with your children, with your parents, with friends and extended people around, the circle just goes out in rings of importance, right? And you're standing in the middle. And these are not easy relationships to deconstruct and repair. I was telling this client that there are people that you won't be able to continue the journey with. As you progress on your journey of ascension, there are people you will not be able to continue the journey with. But it is our duty, especially as healers, it is always our duty as healers. There is a duty, not a duty to take on their karma, not a duty to feel like we failed because we weren't able to help them. But we do have a duty when we, gently let them go, right? Is to give them a mala, or to tell them where to get a mala, depending on the importance of the relationship, and to give them at least $2. And to give them a mantra. And to let them go. And Mercury retrograde will happen. And one of them will come back. A friend, a lover, whatever. And the question out of your mouth shouldn't be, oh, this, that, and the other, or to ghost him or to block him. It's to say, did you read the books? Which book did you like best? Did you practice the mantra? Did you get yourself a mala? Are you chanting? Are you meditating? And the answer, of course, trust me, I know this answer. It'll be no. I've been too busy. And you'll say, well, that's too bad. I'll tell you what. I've given you the titles of the books. I've given you where to buy a mala. I've given you a mantra. I've told you that meditation would help you. Listen, I gotta go. I love you, but call me when you've read one of the books. And it could be that they never call you ever again. It could be that, of course, they call you back. And again, you'll ask the same question. How are you doing with that mantra? How are you doing with that book? And so on and so forth. And of course, they'll say, I've been too busy. And you'll gently not yell at them, not scold them, not judge them. You'll say, well, you caught me at a bad time, but I love you, and I hope to hear from you when you've read the book. Tell me which book was the best one and why. Anyway, I look forward to that conversation. I gotta go. Have a great year, month, whatever. That person won't call you back, but one of them will call you back. And again, they'll say the same thing. I've been too busy. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd see how you were. Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing great. But I it's interesting because, I gave you the mantra, the mala. I told you to read these 2 books, and yet you keep coming back to me with the same problems, and you're not trying to look at how to heal your problems with new ways, new rules of engagements, new actions. I'm not judging you. I'm just letting you know. I'm not even disappointed. I'm just letting you know that these are books that I curated for you. The mantra I gave you, I curated for you. I thought of you. I thought, what does this person need more than anything? And the mala is to keep track of your mantra. And you haven't done anything. But you keep saying you're too busy, but you're coming back to me with the same or similar problems. And I can't help you. It seems to me I love you more than you love yourself. And that seems unbalanced. And so I can't offer you friendship anymore. Because you won't even fight for yourself. You won't even do what it takes to change your life, even by 2%. You don't believe in shifts and change and transformations. And I can't focus my intentions on you anymore. But should you read the book, should you start practicing the mantra and meditating, you can always give me a call. My doors are always open. Have a good year and hang up. Ultimately, none of us are responsible for people's healing. None of us are responsible for how people seek their healing. I think sometimes people just want to complain. I also think sometimes people want to feel pitied. Sometimes people do need to let go and rant and rave their pain. And that is one step to healing. You implode, you release, you share in words and grief, and then you shift and you get into the serious business of the healing journey. After you've fallen apart, you go, right, let me take a shower, let me get my shit together, and let me figure out what would be the best course of action. And sometimes you have to do a 360-degree turn to see what attracts you to your healing journey, but you better be focused on that. Apathy is understandable. Apathy comes from the fact that in multiple incarnations, we clearly got the message that no matter what we did, we would never win. Why? Well, because we had archetypes of heroes that lost. Case in point, Yeshua did not make it, whatever you believe. Some people will say he did. He had a beautiful long life with Mary Magdalene in France. But let's go with the known story that has been, shoved down our faces. He didn't make it, right? Okay. Isis Osiris. Osiris didn't make it. Most of our stories, even 1923, by the way, the show, they don't make it. Spoiler alert, who gives a fuck? I'm telling you now, they don't make it. Why? Well, you'll see why. If you haven't watched it, if you watch it, you know exactly why. And you'd be surprised at how pissed off people were over fictional characters who didn't make it. Instead of trying to figure out, how do I make it? With my twin or without, how do I make it? How do I make it to make sure I raise really super fucking powerful children into magnificent adults who are part of the solution, not the problem? How do I make that happen? Apathy is from, thousands of years of watching our efforts, get scattered in the wind. When you watch, again, the movie I keep bringing up is William Wallace, in Braveheart. The end is not a happy ending, my friends. It's actually quite brutal. If you look at Atlantis, we all talk about it. Many of us in the spiritual communities talk about Atlantis and the trauma of Atlantis and it falling, but we didn't make it. And so the apathy comes from saying, no matter what I do, it won't make a difference. But we're in a new cycle, you see. We were in the Piscean age, now we're in the Aquarian age. It's a new cycle, it's a new vibration, it's a new flavor. And in the Aquarian age, the age of humanity, the age of soul evolution, of generosity, of excavation, transforming, transmuting, and rising, it's different. And that's what we need to really look at with new transcendental eyes, not the old tired eyes of 3D understanding, but we have to look at a future with 5D eyes, not hopeful eyes, knowing eyes, expectant eyes. Because nothing, good or bad, ever remains. It's like the wheel of fortune. Your fortune is down, your fortune is good. The one thing you can actually always guarantee is that no matter what, things change. No matter what. So that's the power of our evolution. And ultimately, could you type the name? I don't even know what you're talking about. Sorry. I do not know what you're talking about. Oh, the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let me approve the thing. It's Andromeda. Here, let me see if I can pin it. Hang on, Andromeda. Thank you for, okay, I'm pinning the comment. Okay, so you can see it. It's been pinned. Thank you, Andromeda. So, yeah, so thank you for asking that question. I appreciate it. Okay, so, yeah, the Bhagavad Gita. That's the book that everyone should read at least once. If you read nothing else ever again on that realm of consciousness and understanding, it's the Bhagavad Gita. And what else can I tell you? I'm sorry, I got distracted when I was looking at your but I'm glad you asked. So it's pinned. Hopefully you guys can do a screenshot. And like I said, if I were you, I would just listen to it on Audible or what's the other company? Fuck. Sounds True. Maybe Sounds True has an yeah, I like Sounds True as well. Okay, so check it out. Or, YouTube might have it for free. Screw it, But anyway, so going back to the apathy of I'm not important, individually and collectively, is really it's really played a number on us. Not to mention we got to see, like Joan of Arc is another great example of a young chit of a girl, a little teenage girl who was able to, and I talk about her a lot here and there, but it's been a while since I spoke of her. But let's be honest, here's a teenage girl saying, I hear the voice of God, and all you warriors that have gone through the Crusades and shit like, yeah, follow me. And they did. Okay, that's a mind blower. And she still got fucked over. She lost in the end. At 19, she was burned at the stake. So it's not like we haven't been taught that even if you win a particular goal, in the end, you will pay dearly for winning that goal. But that is not this age anymore. That is not what's going on anymore. Don't you see that? Don't you see that pure evil is actually being completely fucking exposed? And before one's disgusting power is lost, this corrupt, deviant power, that first it must be exposed before it literally is washed away. I'm actually a reader. I love sitting with a book, and audiobooks are awesome for commutes. Thank you. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what I'm saying, is that ultimately, the Titanic is, I could come up with names after names after names of stories, fiction and true, where it didn't work out during the Piscean age. I could come up forever. You and I could all sit around and come up with lists and go, oh my God, that's right, this one. Oh my God, that one. But this is the Aquarian age. This is Satya Yuga age, not Kali Yuga. And why am I saying that? Because you decide which timeline you want to live in. Do you want to live in Kali Yuga of iron and blood, and war and famine, pestilence? Or do you want to live into the golden age of philosophy, generosity, abundance for all, new earth, 5D? It's up to you. Your consciousness dictates that. I did an Akashic reading for myself, just so you know. And my feminine rage in one of my incarnations, it was during the Lilith era. Many of us during the Lilith era. If you guys know Lilith, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The Lilith was the original wife of Adam, wife, partner, whatever, created at the same breath. And she was an equal in every way. And she's been hidden by, most people don't even know she existed. And then Eve came into play when Lilith, left the Garden of Eden to seek knowledge. They've demonized her for many reasons, because they always demonize the feminine. And when she left the garden, when she went to, and ironically, I believe it shows up in the Sumerian text, other texts, where she leaves the Garden of Eden. Now, remember, Adam and Eve were supposed to, or rather, let's go back. Adam and Lilith were supposed to be the first humanoid sentient beings on planet Earth. Okay, so she leaves the Garden of Eden. Imagine her shock when she sees people having a bacchanalian feast, and she's partying with them, and finally returns, and now they've morphed her into a snake, luring Eve to eat the fruit of knowledge. The fruit of knowledge. Now, I remember doing a spoken word at the Ice House back in California about that subject. And I remember asking the audience, if an entity came to you and said, eat of this fruit and you will know everything, you will know why you're here, why your original, how you were originally made, and what your mission is, and how all of this, meaning this planet, the galaxies, was created, would you eat from this fruit? Would you be shocked to find out that every single person in the audience yelled, yeah? Of course they'd eat the fruit. Why? Because curiosity is a mark of intelligence. But they demonized that. Why? Because they knew that if we started asking questions and we sought esoteric wisdoms, that we would break away from the chain of the loosh, aka loop of 3D incarnations. They knew it. And so everything was encoded to keep us frightened and to see heroes, shamans, warriors, druids, druidesses, high priests, high priestesses doing something magical and then losing. Even Caesar lost when he was jumped in the Senate floor. Even Caesar. I thought that was interesting. And that was that age. And what we do with this new age, this brand new shining light that's coming towards us, is really going to define probably 1,000 years, probably more. Most likely more than that. Could be another 20, 30, 40,000 years. They sure are happy to tell us that the Kali Yuga could last us another 46,000 years or 456,000 years. Again, I'm ballparking the numbers. At this point, when something like that is offered to a sentient being, who gives a shit the details? No matter how you turn it over like a Rubik's Cube, it's bad. Or we can choose Satya Yuga. And Satya Yuga takes responsibility. Satya Yuga means that you actually have to know shit to create shit. Light, love, abundance, the new earth. You actually have to have knowledge. Or you have to seek knowledge from those who resonate to your heart chakra. You have to use your heart chakra as a compass of truth to help you create a blueprint that has always existed. Always. And hasn't been accessed in maybe 20,000 years. But it's been sitting there, dormant. And the activation of our desires activates it into our hands, our hearts, and creates the path that we're looking for. We're looking to experience this in this life or the next. There's an old saying that, and I'm paraphrasing, that a good gardener plants fruit trees that she knows will never benefit from the harvest, because sometimes you create things for others that will come after you, right? And why do you do that? Well, because if you're of that consciousness, you won't need those fruit trees. You'll be on higher dimensions, even higher than this. And why wouldn't you leave the planet better than when you found it? Why wouldn't you want to do that? It's a great line from Kingdom of Heaven, the movie Kingdom of Heaven. The line actually starts with that. I will leave this planet, this earth, better than I found it. It's almost like a duty. And you don't do it to be celebrated. You don't even do it because people will know that you've done it. You're doing it because you know it's the right thing to do. Because you have enough integrity, enough majesty in your soul, and enough generosity to know that there is no other path but to do that. To create a better world than you left it. And the contrasting of absolute pure deviant evil and the light that we're seeing emerging is right on the mark. We're actually on schedule. I'm not kidding. We're on schedule. Everything's rolling around according to plan. Believe it or not. Because before you can say, I do not consent, you have to actually know what you're saying no to. You have to know. Yeah, I do not consent to this. I do not like this injustice. I do not think this is how the world should be run. And I do not feel like thugs should be our leaders. But you have to be aware. How can you decide what you want if you've never tasted contrast? How can you know you don't like ice cream until you've tried it? Or at least seen it, smelled it. You don't even have to try it. Sometimes all you have to do is see something. Like, you'll never see me eat octopus. I don't have to even get near it. Because I know it's an intelligent sentient being, and I would never do that. Harm such an intelligent sentient being. Nor would I ever eat a porpoise. Because I know. I don't even have to be near it to know it's wrong. So sometimes but I'm aware of their existence, you see? And so I can judge. Yeah, judge what is right and what is wrong. What is aligned with my heart and what is against my heart. And so you have full autonomy. You have free will. The thing I just told you, an Andromedan argued in front of a galactic council of light as to why. Because, see, their concern was, well, we have to end this volatility, this chaos. In these, there are people, there are sentient beings losing their ability to live a long, fruitful life because other sentient beings are there to eradicate their peace. And so we must do something with this free will. We must somehow prune it or cage it or control it or create an egregore to absolutely muffle it until further notice. And the Andromedan said, no, we can't. It's against universal law. The one who created us all would never want that. In fact, it was our gift, the jewel in the crown of this sentient being's creation consciousness when we came into these incarnations. Now I'm going to tell you about my feminine rage that I had as Lilith. Let me go back to it because they're enforcing it. They don't want me to forget. And I'm sharing this, and it's very powerful because it's very uncomfortable. You see, you have to be willing to look at your ugly as well as your beauty. So let me show you my ugly. So as a Lilith type energy, okay, as an archetype, we're going to use that as an archetype. My feminine rage was so unhinged, toxic as fuck. It was so bad that I fell into 2D as a reptilian. And I saw it. And I sat in meditation and I sat there watching it. And I went, what the fuck is this? Right? To my guides. And they're saying, stay tight. Look at what this is. Look at what this is. Why are you showing me this? Because that kind of rage needs to be contained. It's a frequency matched to 2D, and that's where it's staying. It needs to be contained there in its looping anger. When I dropped my body, I saw my luminous hands and feet as a feminine energy, because that's the form I prefer. I've been men many times, but I prefer the feminine energy. And I looked at my hands and feet and saw myself, and the words came, "You were created in the image of the Creator." Now, had I been a man, that would have been true, but I was a woman, and yes, it was true. And I said, "What does this mean?" And they said, "You had to drop that body to finally see your true self, and now that rage has been neutralized. But while you were in it, you could not be reached by us. And so you were now a match, an incarnation that was of the lowest frequency. And now you are back with us, and you're seeing yourself, realizing what you really truly are. Your true nature is of the light." And that was very humbling. And it was incredibly empowering. And I felt blessed that I was able to have that experience, because what I'm seeing in the spiritual community is this Barbie and Ken, Barbie world pony rainbow bullshit that is preventing people to seeing their shadows. And then I asked about sexuality, because I'm fully aware of how sexuality has us looping into bullshit, shaming of it, trauma of it, all of it. And I said, "What of bisexuality? What of," and they started answering the question about the 3D looping of distractions, of normalizations. And again, there's nothing wrong with being bisexual, because some people are straight. Bonnie Blue is a great example, but now she's going the other side apparently. And she's an absolute deviant carcass. Sorry. Beautifully packaged though. Visually beautiful, and a lot of people are putting her down, but come on, stop. Don't put her down. She is siphoning people's energies, and people know that. But she is expressing the darkest, most deviant situations one can imagine. And it's giving us contrast. The other aspect that I asked about was, what about people who are asexual or unable to consummate with a beloved? You know, in other words, they're virgins still at the age of 40. I kid you not, that happens a lot more than you think in this timeline. We're not talking about 1920s, we're talking about right now, as we speak. And on both answers, they said, this is fear. Fear. And why is there fear? Fear of being harmed. Fearing of not being accepted. When somebody is going out and having random sex with people, it's what is the fear? Being lonely. Being bored. Not being important. Feeling you're missing out. It's fear. No matter how you slice it. Doesn't matter. One spectrum to the other. It's fear. And this is why Buddha came in with the middle way. If you remember his story, when he leaves the palace as Siddhartha and is becoming the Buddha, what is he doing? He's fasting. He's pushing his body until his ribs, every single rib and vertebrae shows. And finally, he starts eating. And eating. And he realizes that the middle way, the middle path, is the only way. It's the kindest path to oneself. But, you know, when you do ayahuasca, for example, for me at least, and I'm not going to say it's for everyone, but for me, the first thing I remember her doing was that she showed me skulls and death masks and things of that nature. And instead of me being frightened, I tucked in. I just tucked in. In the middle, I tucked in, suddenly the explosions of sacred geometry and colors and beautiful imagery. And then boom, we got into the business of telepathic communication and images. In other words, before you can see everything, you have to see the darkest points. You have to face your most visceral fear. And my most visceral fear, which I never experienced, was to me being in 2D. Imagine that. It's like being put in a closet in the dark for fucking 120 days or more, in my opinion. And I got to see it. And in seeing it, it was my deliverance. Because the kind of anger that I saw me feel, which we've all been there, right? And you'd be surprised how people just foam at the mouth like they're rabid with an unhinged rage. Like, that's the way I see things today. That's insane to me, the way I see anger now. But I had to see, at the very least, and this was a gift to me by my guides, to see the very, very worst of me. And how dropping my body showed me and shed like an old reptilian skin, like a literally my understanding of myself. And so do you understand that sometimes people can't do this? And this is why I said, for some people, when they die, you go, oh, why did he die so young? He was such a good kid, but he was addicted to all kinds of shit, right? Why did he die so? Well, because death was his healing. Because to actually find himself back, he couldn't do it in 3D anymore. Just like for me being in 2D, the mercy was I finally dropped my body. And the minute I did, and all this shit was shed, I got to see my true light. And I never looked back. There's nothing, sometimes I do an Akashic reading. I remember doing an Akashic reading. I'll tell you the story. And the first thing I saw was that this person, this first incarnation, it's funny how they talk about how the angels fell, how they talk to us in these parables and these stories. That's what my guides were all, in fact, they're telling me to repeat the story. So I was talking to my guides, again, with this whole experience, and I was asking my guides, what are these parables? What are these stories? Like, well, why are you telling us? And they said, stop, we're not telling you these stories. These are man-made stories. And they said, it's kind of like blocks. B is for boy, A is for apple. Those parables on that level of consciousness, like rudimentary, pedestrian, lower than preschool level spirituality, right? Okay. So this concept of the fallen angel, that kind of, the Book of Enoch, that garbage, okay? It's much more complex than you think. And it is a war of good and evil that starts from that point, and it has been bastardized. So I will say, I'll give you some hints. Those angels that came to make love to women did not come to make love to human women because they were so enamored by, those women. No, what it was is those angels were coupled as twins, not twin ray, something way higher than that. We're talking about 8th, 9th dimension. And their women had been tricked to seed the first human race. And the women volunteered. And those women fell one dimension to another until they hit 3D. And the amnesia set in. There was a full lobotomy. And they had been lied to by an Anunnaki god. I think you can guess what part of the pages of the book we're talking about at this point. And these angels, these masculine angels, were distraught. Because you see, the deal was that this would have been just a blink of an eye. Give us your genetics, be the wombs of the new sentient beings called humans, and then you'll be right back with your beloved. It was all a lie because it was impossible. Because to fall into 3D is really fucking dense. It's kind of like wearing those submarine diver suit type of things out of metal and staying under. Good luck. You're not getting out of that fucking ocean walk unless people help you out of it. Let me just say that. You're not doing it on your own. You're not levitating above back to the surface of the ocean without help, and a lot of help. So that's exactly what happened. And they were bereft and went back into planet Earth to make love to their own women, their beloved. And there's more, of course, but I have a heart. For me, the Book of Enoch is a massive fucking knee jerk. Massive. So this particular Akashic, session that I had with this client, draconian, 6'4", I've mentioned him before, 6'4", scaly, reptilian, muscular, bald, and he has a great time hunting other sentient beings. That's what they do. Think of the Klingons that Gene Roddenberry was able to channel in his show Star Trek. But worse, draconians. Okay, reptilians. And one day, they're having a battle in their own spacecraft against a particular planet that they've decided to geno. And as it, boom, the feeling, his heart chakra fucking explodes open. And he feels the grief of the planet and the sentient beings leaving. And it actually activated his awakening. And from that, he was not able to continue being part of the group, part of the tribe. And I talk about that. And I don't want to say too much because TikTok loves pulling the plug every time I go deep. So if you want to hear more about details like that, let me know on my YouTube channel. Like, hit me up. And if I get enough, like 10 or 20 people to listen, I'll go deep. And it'll be an 18 years old and above type of session where we actually go into like me exposing exactly what the fuck happened to him. Because the last time I did it, I lost my entire life and the whole thing was fucking plugged up for like a week. I wasn't able to do that. So, but after that, his incarnations were of lighter star seeds, I'll say that. And after that, he started falling to, and in his case, he fell to experience 3D purposely, by the way, not by accident, not because he fucked up, not in this case, to experience love, desire, generosity, strife. And then the amnesia really took over. And there was the looping, the shaming, the self-abuse, the self-sabotage. You know what I'm saying? The life cycles that the Bhagavad Gita, if you get a copy of their book, you'll see a famous painting. And there's various versions of that painting of the baby from the grave and the teenager and the man and then back elderly man falling back into the grave. And it's literally a fucking loop. It's like a hamster wheel of incarnations. And that's what happened to all of us. And what I keep telling clients, and this is really important so that you can kind of give yourself credit for where it's due, is that we have sentient, and I know you know this, we have sentient beings that have never, ever, 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 ever reincarnated ever on 3D. And believe me, they've been given the opportunity to volunteer, but they knew I could be fucking gone, lose my consciousness for 10,000 fucking years. I'm not doing that. I could have like fucking 300,000 incarnations and not remember one. I'm not doing that. I could do evil shit to incur karma. I'm not doing that. There are souls that know better than to ever come lower than here. In fact, if they do, it's for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. And then they're out. They're fucking out. And still, they're very, very careful. And if they feel, it's kind of like, again, imagine holding your breath underwater. Can you do it for 2 minutes? When was the last time you tried in a swimming pool? Don't do it in the ocean. In the swimming pool. Controlled environment. For 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. When was the last time? At some point, you have to come up for breath. Well, for them, it's similar. Or else you lose your consciousness. You actually pass out, wouldn't you? Well, guess what? So would they. And if you read Journey of Souls and you see how we take on a human incarnation and how we prepare the brain, the body, almost like molding the shoes to your feet, right? It's extraordinary, the process, and how we go in and out of that, your pregnant mom or your potential mom, right? And you're coming in and out of the womb, you're like in it, and then you're traveling to other realms, you're visiting some of your soul tribe, your guide, then you come back in, you kind of fidget with the brain, you kind of, does it fit? Is it what I want? Do I really want to do this? And then finally you root in. You literally step in and you get rooted in. And you're in. I can't tell you how many hypnotherapy sessions where some of the sentient being souls, that took on that, saying, okay, I'm all in. When we do the womb memory, many of them started panicking, regretting, and wanting to not do this incarnation, and it was too late. And many of them also were excited, positive, couldn't wait to go in, oh my God, and then forgot their mission. So it's really interesting. I mean, when I do the hypnotherapy sessions, we go into favorite past life memory as a child, and then we go into the womb, and then we go farther out. And some people have had such traumatic childhood that they can't go. They go into the womb, but they can't go any further. Not because they're afraid to go into past, because there's so much shit in the present, in this incarnation. There's just so much shit. There's so much trauma that they can't move further. But when I do, and I've worked with clients where they come back, we do another hypnotherapy session, and boom, they're out running into past lives on this planet and other planets. And it's very healing for them. It gets them to see how magnificent and how infinite their experience, not potential, because they've been the best they could have ever been in past lives on other planets. They have. And they've grown exponentially. And for some reason, it's like a kid regressing in a bad school. They're really good in math, they're really good in English, and, first grade, second grade, and then suddenly they come across a bullying teacher that, is a fucked up teacher that's constantly picking, the kids in a scapegoat in the classroom, which it happens, and the kid regresses. Or there's some massive shit happening in the household of abuse, mommy's boyfriend or daddy's girlfriend, and some weird shit's happening, and suddenly the kid that was brilliant, that's a damn near genius, regresses massively. And so, when you explore yourself, right? So let's go back to the guy who was a reptilian, draconian, blah, blah, blah. When I first delivered the message to him, he was, it's fucking triggering. You don't want to hear that. Oh, I was great. Oh, fuck. But you know what? If you're not willing to see your shadows, and I mean your deep darkness, then you're not ready to fucking grow and ascend. And the question that should pivot you constantly is, but am I that now? If you find out that you are, a king that, committed massive campaigns against innocent, unharmed, unarmed people, okay, are you that person today? No. Okay, well then let's move on. Can you forgive yourself? I'm having a hard time. We'll work on that. Let's move on. The main question should always be, would I do that today? There are people who are really good people. They're salt of the earth, sweet people. And what frightens them is that, let's say, I'm going to give you an example. This is all made up, okay? Don't take this seriously. But listen to me. Lean in. Imagine you're Attila the Hun in a past life. And by the way, there's a great book called Attila the Hun's Corporate Secrets, I think it's called. Anyway, so you're Attila the Hun. You incarnate. You're born in 1981. And you find out you're Attila you're like, what the fuck? And then you realize, I have it in me. I could do this. Yes, you could, but would you? No. Then there's your power. So if you could do this again, meaning if you have the capacity to go apeshit on a fucking town, village, whatever, the question isn't, do you have the capacity? The question is, with the capacity you have, would you do it? With the capacity of leadership to gather those kinds of people, would you do it? No. Perfect. You're good. Well, how am I good? Because I have the capacity to do it. No, you see, you have the capacity to do it. You have that kind of power, but now you understand how to harness it, control it, and to make sure that you do not utilize that kind of deviant, toxic power. You've just graduated to your ascension. Welcome home. See, that's the point. And that's what people are not understanding about real, I love the term shadow work. It's a great t-shirt. It's a great bumper sticker. But what does it fucking mean? What does it fucking mean? It means a man or a woman facing their deviancies, whatever that is, their toxic traits, and going, I have that. It scares me. Yes, you should be. Yeah, okay. Should be scared. Why? Well, because you should take that shit seriously. Well, what do I do with it? Fucking deconstruct it. Where does it come from? Was it in this incarnation? Was it given to you? Was it taught to you? Was it past lives? What is it? What's looping? And how do I work on that? You meditate. You work on your chakras. Oh, that's funny. That's not going to do shit. Oh, really? People have taken inoperable cancers and dissolved it through breath work, through meditation, chakra work, through mantra work, through connecting with nature. Oh, really? They have cellular issues. You have a toxic spiritual loop. You don't think you can do that with a toxic spiritual loop, but I don't know. But it's okay for you to believe that people have taken inoperable cancer cells and dissolved them by pure will and work? A daily spiritual practice? Really? Well, it doesn't always work. Some people don't make it. Yes, because some people, it's their time to go, and some people don't want to continue. They're fucking tired. But the people who want to live, if it's their contract to live another 20, 30 years, they win. They have free will. Remember that little term, free will? And some, sadly, in your minds, at 18, 19, it's time to go home. Why? Why so young? Because it's time to go home. Why? Because they were here to maybe finish a couple contracts, and they were here to teach their parents, siblings, people who would hear about them. There's a great book that was written in the 1960s called Eric. I'll never forget. Eric was a young surfer who had leukemia in the 60s. Imagine having leukemia in the 1960s. Good luck, okay? And the process that was so painful, the procedures done to try to save his life. He wanted to live, by the way. And his mother wrote the book called Eric. And I remember reading that book when I was like 14 years old. He'd been dead like at least, I don't know, by the time I was born to read it, 15 years later. His life, his joy of life impacted me so beautifully. So when you ask why, because he touched me and he never knew I existed, because he died before I did, before I existed. That's why. There are people who are meant to incarnate and to leave their beautiful energies behind. And sometimes it's for a village, a town, a family, maybe just one other person and nothing else. And it's not by any means is it a punishment at all. If you could see what is on the other side of the veils, you would realize that being born is a sort of ending of what our freedoms, and we are here in this school that people have decided to create in the collective mindset as a jail. It's not a jail. It's a jail if your brain is a jail. It's your classroom if you feel it's a classroom. What you believe is real is real. What you believe is not real is not real. You actually have full autonomy. Remember that word, free will. Free will. And no one, it doesn't matter if it's Anunnaki, draconian, nefarious, it doesn't matter about David Icke saying what he says. Love him. There's stuff I don't agree, there's stuff I agree. But what I'm trying to say to you is your free will is your fucking key to escape anything and to enter anything you want to enter. Free will. And if it's your free will to lose, you will lose. If it's your free will to win, you will win. Amazing. Does that make sense? So, what time is it? It's 22:03 a.m. And I'm going to let you go. And I've just uploaded a beautiful, I thought, calling out the masculines live that I did this morning, afternoon, whatever. And I think that unless you have a question that's specific to my conversation, I'm going to let you go. So if you have any questions, I'm going to wait, but please don't ask me about, please fucking read the room. I mean, really. Okay? No offense. Let me know if do you have any questions, any comments, something that actually is going to add to this conversation, or are we done here? We're done? Okay. All right. Thank you, my love. You know who you are for being here on this live. Have a great day, Polly. Thank you for being here. My beautiful brother, my beautiful divine masculine friend, brother. And loving this live, listening while driving. How cool is that? My friend in Norway. All right. So anything at all? Okay. So everything we have is there for you. Look at a lot of my lives on TikTok that's been transferred to YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. My YouTube is on my link tree or my profile. You can even look at my profile, download, you'll see the link. If not, go on my link tree and click. And if you want to just search YouTube, just type in Sacred Intimacy Tarot, and there you'll find me, follow me. There's a lot of wonderful, in my opinion, content. Some of it will trigger you. Good. Ask yourself, why are you triggered? Some of it you'll feel like you're being I don't know, talk to you directly and it triggers you, it pisses you off. Good. Yep. Love you, sister. I love you back. Anyway, number 9 is my favorite number. I don't want to just extend this live. Again, I was waiting for questions. If you have no questions, I'll let you go. I'm waiting another 1 minute because I feel like what I share with you hopefully makes sense and will give you the courage to look at your shadows and really get dirty. Just start excavating in the dirt, in the mud, in the mire, and pull out what you refuse to see within yourself, and then fix it. Just acknowledge it. You don't have to share it with the world. Acknowledge it, and then fix it. Okay? And if for some reason you can't fix it, what will happen is that as you move from one incarnation or reality to another, I assure you it will be fixed on its own. I just illustrated that, I think, pretty well. All right? All right. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor. Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste. Be well.